Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of The Trust Factor. I'm your host, Fred Geiser, and I'm joined by my interviewee on the ground, Orion Feet. Today, we have a very interesting episode about trust and all that it entails. We'll be having 3 very special guests throughout the show. Our first guest is from a book many of you may have read. He goes by the name Rashad, and we learned all about his story in All American Boys. Rashad, how are you? I'm doing good. My voice is deeper because the book came out in 2016, so technically I'd be like 27 or something, so that's why I sound like an adult. But I'm super pumped to be on the show, and I'm excited to talk about, trust and whatnot. Yeah, thanks for joining us so much, Rashad. We're super happy to have you on the show. I just want to kick it off by asking you, what does trust mean to you? Obviously it powered you through this whole book, and it's so important to all of us. Just how do you feel trust in your life? Yeah, it was so influential for me at the protest to see all those people I learned I could trust. It changed me right there. I'm now actually one of the civil leaders in the great state of Pennsylvania. I spent a lot of my time, bringing light to stuff kind of what happened to me, police brutality, other inequities. And I just think that if I didn't have this group of people around me who I could trust so deeply, that I'd never be able to do this. And I just appreciate it so much. Because without trust, we're really nothing, I think we see that. I've got a great friend. His name's Quinn. Forgot his last name. But just the way that trust influenced him, he's now married to this beautiful wife, Jill. They have their children. But he strayed away from his family after that, and he stood up for me. And that meant so much to me, because if you don't surround yourself with people you trust, then what's the point of living, We're social beings. We're like orangutans. You put an orangutan in captivity by itself, what happens? It gets all sad and depressed. I think that can be true for us, not just when we're alone, but when we feel alone, because we have nobody around us that we can talk to, open up to, or trust. And I just think that without trust, our whole society would fall. Thank you so much for that opening, Rashad. That's so deep. We heard that you actually had a kid recently. We just wanted to say congratulations. But the cool part was that you were telling us that the kid is actually named after one of the relationships you made in the book. Relationships are so important. Do you think you could open up and tell us a little bit about that? Oh, yeah, of course. Got a 1-month-old son, named him Fitzgerald Butler. Why Fitzgerald? That's kind of a weird name. Is it for the Edmund Fitzgerald that sunk in one of the Great Lakes, Superior or something, and has a song about it by Gordon Lightfoot? No, it's not actually. It's about this great librarian that I met named Mrs. Fitzgerald. She was so influential to me, and I feel like I really needed her at that moment. I kind of unfortunately lost touch with her after that, but just, to kind of pay respect to her and how much she helped me in realizing who I was at that moment, I decided to name my son Fitzgerald Butler. I've actually got to go lead a protest here in 20 minutes, and I'm speaking at it and whatnot, so I actually got to bounce. But thank you so much for having me on, and I'll see you soon, Fred. Thank you, bro. Yes, Rashad, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, bro. All right, that was Rashad Butler, huge character in All American Boys. Great guy. Love the guy. We're going to hop into our next segment here, but first we got a word from our sponsor. Get your reading logs today at readinglog.com. Our reading logs are better than everyone else's. All right, so for our next individual, we're going to hear from Lupe Garcia, one of the survivors on the tumultuous Devil's Highway. It's a very, very dangerous passage into the United States. It's terrible they have to go through that. He was one of the men in the Yuma 14, where 14 men very tragically passed away. So we're going to be having him on the show here in a moment. All right, time to welcome on Lupe here. And not to brag or anything, but I have been Duolingoing a little bit, so I'm going to do this intro in Spanish. Hola, Lupe, ¿cómo estás? That actually means hi, how are you, in Spanish for you guys that didn't know. But so, come on in, Lupe. Great to have you. Yes, I'm really excited to be here. I haven't really heard much about your podcast, but I saw the invite. I wasn't doing much, so, decided to stop by. All right, Lupe. You put your trust in the hands of a very, very evil man by the name of Mendez. All right, he's now serving 208 years in Alcatraz for all of his atrocities and what he did to you poor people. How did having to put your trust into him without a choice change your outlook on everything that you've done since? Yeah, for me it was huge. Like, when I learned that he had abandoned us on that fateful day, I don't think any of us were surprised at that point. We'd been going in circles for days. We had no water, we had no food, but we powered through. And you know what got me through was having those brothers around me who I could trust. Without them, I don't think any of us would have survived. But luckily, 12 of us ended up making it out alive, and it's just so sad that 14 had to perish. But to answer your question, I think it really makes you think twice about doing what you're going to do before you do it. And that's not to say like I had a ton of other choices for going across the border, just like where I was financially at the time. But I think just in terms of when you do have the choice, making sure that you're not going to put yourself in someone else's hands, unless you know them, of course. I don't think I've allowed myself to be bossed or put into tough situations by others since then. I've really been able to stand up for myself. I think Mendez showed me that. It's good that he's never going to see the light of day again. He kind of deserves it. Terrible guy. But he really reshaped my life. He made me fight for what I believe in. And it's just completely changed my life. And that's why trust means so much to me. Thank you so much for your time, Lupe. As you know, here on the Trust Factor, we kind of only ask one question. Just to keep it simple, keep it kind of dumbed down for our viewers. Average IQ of our viewers, fun fact, 78. We're trying to build that up. So if any intellectual people out there might be hearing this, here on a snippet or on a TikTok over a guy playing Subway Surfers, just tune in. The Trust Factor. It's free on podcasts or wherever you listen. Anyway, that's all the time we have for you, Lupe. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And catch you on the flip side, man. Oh, looks like you already left. I don't think anyone told him it was only going to be one question. Anyway, we're going to move on, and I'm going to pass it to our very special interviewee, who, if you didn't know, he can create AI conversations with dead people, but it doesn't sound like AI. It sounds like they're really here, which is really cool. It's just kind of like his power that he discovered. So I'm going to pass it away to Orion Feet, who's going to be conducting an interview with a very special someone who goes by the name of Mikey Holloman.
Hey, I'm Orion, all right? And so as Fred Mayer told you, I'm doing a special certain kind of interview. We're here at Big Joey's sandwich shop getting a sub, and I'm going to add a Chat GPT AI of a very, very special guy, Mikey Holloman. You guys might know about him. He's from the book Long Way Down, all right? His son, Will, refers to him as Pop throughout the book, and they have a very deep conversation on the elevator. So Mikey, how you doing? You know, how's the afterlife been treating you? And my main question for you would be, how do you think trust altered your son's decision to step out of that elevator and go shoot a man before being arrested and sentenced to life in prison?
Yeah, thanks, Orion, for having me. Afterlife's been pretty crazy, man. Like, there's not a ton going on. So when I knew that I could, like, hop in the elevator with my son, I was like, yeah, I'll do it for sure. Fun fact, I can only do that in elevators. Don't know why. Not a lot of elevators in federal prison, though, which really, really sucks. I don't get to see them much anymore. But, I mean, I just feel like trust, I don't know how to say this, man, but if he knew me better and he trusted me, I don't think he would have killed that man. I really don't. And I think it's such a shame that he did. I feel like if he had heard my story about killing the wrong man and what it does and how it tore me apart and led to my death. But I don't think he knew me that well. I think when I died, he was just watching TV. He didn't even bat an eye. But if I had been around and if he had known me more and I had waited longer and I had had trust in others to not have to make that decision to keep feeding the never-ending cycle of death that ravages this community, like, I just wish I could have been there for him, a shoulder to lean on. Because when he lost his brother, he had no one left, right? Who was he going to trust? He had his mom. But it was really tough for him. And I honestly wasn't surprised when he made the decision he did, because in the moment with no one to lean on, no one to talk to except the ghosts of your past, what else are you going to do, right? I think part of him was probably willing to risk it to come join us here in the afterlife, and honestly, I'm glad he didn't, but now he's in prison. He's actually a great guy in prison. He's going to make parole here in about 28 years if he keeps up good behavior. And it's really too bad, man. I just feel like if he had someone to trust, we all need someone to trust, right? It's so critical to have someone to trust before we make rash decisions. If we have no one to talk to, we're alone in our own heads. And when we're alone in our own heads, that's when stuff goes sideways, man. So, thanks for having me. I can't actually eat this sandwich because I'm an AI, but I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for having me on the show. Peace.
That was Mikey. Mikey, thank you so much. We'll see you soon. And I'm only paid to do about, 4 minutes here. That's about 4 minutes. So thank you. The trust factor, I'm going to send it back home to Fred to take you guys out. And see ya. All right. Thank you, Orion. I think that just about wraps up our episode here on the Trust Factor. Another riveting episode with some book characters. It's always really just a great time, talking to new people. I think that's about all we got for you. Next week, we'll have Horton Hears a Who. Horton himself will be on the show. And we'll have Pee Wee Herman will also be joining us. So, we also do have a special guest, so I can't leak yet. It's going to be really cool. But anyway, thank you for joining us here on the Trust Factor. Cue the music. Peace out. Bye.